Thank you, Joe, for that intro. Thank you guys for coming out here. This is a real honor to be reading from this book in New Mexico, which has just an incredible history with uranium on all facets. I mean, not only was, as we all know, the Hiroshima weapon developed up there at the Los Alamos Mesa, but New Mexico is rich in uranium, and New Mexico is also the place where a uranium enrichment plant is now being built and is almost finished down in Eunice, down in Little Texas. Anyone ever been down there to that corner of the state?
Most people don't claim.
Yeah, most people won't. Yeah, it's a very different place than Santa Fe. Let's put it that way. It's down there in the Permian Basin, down there in the far, far southeast corner, and that's where the second enrichment plant in the United States is being built. This is one of the most sensitive industrial processes anywhere, right here in the land of enchantment. So, like I said, it's an honor to be reading here, and I feel for some of you this is going to be kind of old news. Actually, we're well familiar with the nuclear infrastructure here, and so I'm going to read to you just 3 quick sections here, starting with Los Alamos, which I examine in this book from the perspective that really had never been taken before, which is how they worked with the uranium. I mean, we all know about J. Robert Oppenheimer and Enrico Fermi up there, and Klaus Fuchs, stealing the secrets for the Soviets, and transfers being made in the shadow of the plaza at Santa Fe. But what really hadn't been looked at before is them working with what's called U-235. That's the really fissile part of uranium ore. That's the nasty stuff. And so the first blocks of it, which was then the most rare and valuable substance in the world, were played with up there on that mesa. So I'm going to start reading here about what was then one of the most secret places in the United States. A small army-built city with laboratories, a mess hall, a movie theater, and apartments rose up on the mesa. Some local Zuni Indians were hired for construction tasks, inspiring curiosity among some of the foreign-born contingent of academics who staffed Los Alamos. The wife of one scientist, her name, by the way, is Ruth Marshak. She said this about the Zunis that were hired as maintenance workers up there. There they were, the oldest peoples of America, conservative or barely touched by our industrial civilization, working on a project with an object so radical that would be hailed as initiating a new age. All the mail was sent to a catch-all address, P.O. Box 1663. There's a trivia question for your next party. 1663. I might choose that number in the lottery after I finish reading. And residents were strictly cautioned against telling their relatives exactly where the Army had relocated them. Noted one local observer, and by the way, this local observer is a columnist in the Santa Fe New Mexican. He was writing this in 1945, after The Secret was out. A whole social world existed in nowhere, in which people were married in nowhere and babies were born nowhere. The patriotic sensibilities of the times meant that the locals asked few questions about the explosives echoing off the canyon walls. That, by the way, obviously was not nuclear explosions. That was the fuses that they were testing up there at Los Alamos. These were really tests of the conventional dynamite needed to trigger atomic fission in a plutonium bomb, but the general assumption was that Los Alamos must be some kind of secret munitions plant or a factory for poison gas. When Thomas Raper, a vacationing reporter for the Cleveland Press newspaper, showed up at the gates to do a story, he was firmly turned away by the guards. But it did not stop him from assembling a pastiche of local rumor under the headline, Forbidden City, once he returned to Ohio. He wrote, the Mr. Big of the city is a college professor, Dr. J. Robert Oppenheimer, called the second Einstein by newspapers of the West Coast. This actually ran in a Cleveland newspaper, before Hiroshima.